Welcome back, my duelist friends. Casual Duelist here, and it is Thursday. So again, happy Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. And this one goes out to Mokuba because Mokuba always wants to see heroes and he wants to see them move well. And so today we're going to give you guys like the update on the one of the OTK variants. So we're going to be playing Shining Flare Wingman. Because again, it is just slightly bigger. However, I'll tell you all the things you got to swap around if you'd rather play Flame Wingman. Again, I'd rather give you guys one deck instead of giving you two, but today we're basically just going to give you all the little versions, including some options if you want to play this purely casual and you want to disregard the ban list. So without too much more, let's talk about the skill card. So we are going to be using the Heroes Unite Fusion, and just real quick, this is a skill card that you flip over when you activate it. So the skill card is going to say, activate this skill during the main phase. Discard one card, then fusion summon one elemental hero fusion from the extra deck using cards from hand and field as material. Forget the rest of this because we're not going to be doing anything that requires more than two materials. And you can only use this skill once per duel. So again, a little bit like the Dragon Hunting Swordsman, or maybe I should say the Dragon Hunting Swordsman's a little bit like this. And again, I want to say they're both like fusion parties. So again, as we get more, how do I want to say this? As the decks get more and more characterized, or archetyped, or however you want to say it, themed, expect to see just a couple more versions of this effect popping up. So this means that we can build this deck again once without the use of polymerization. So we get one shot. We need to make sure that we make our character. Just real quick, remind us how to make this character. Flame Wingman plus Sparkman. Got it. So what we're going to need is we're going to need 3 copies of the Elemental Hero Sparkman. Again, very cool card. Love his art. 4-star light. Kind of feel like he could have been a Thunder, but I get the warrior aspect of it. 16 by 14. This is all relevant, and we will see this here in a second. Now, as far as the Flame Wingman, we're going to need to perform fusion substitution. And to do that, we have 2 different monsters, Versago the Destroyer and the Goddess with the Third Eye. Now, these 2 cards share the same exact effect while being opposite ends of the spectrum. One's a light fairy, one's a dark fiend. She's a little bit country, he's rock and roll, whatever. The effect here, this can be used as a substitute for any material mentioned by name on a fusion monster card. Other card or cards must be correct. So, these lovely cards will be substituting for the Flame Wingman today. So, if you thought he was going to make an appearance, I guess this is it. This is how we're going to do this. And again, right there, you have everything you need in order to play the Shining Flare Wingman. You have your Flame Wingman substitute, you have your Sparkman, and you have your Catalyst. That's all in the first 9 cards. But we're going to dump it up to 11 by adding 2 copies of Reinforcement of the Army. And again, this does make this deck easier to do. Because just a little while ago, this was the harder version of the deck to play because you had to get a copy of Sparkman. And being honest, you start with a 4-card hand if you go first. 4 plus a draw, so 5 if you went second. Sure, 5 out of the 20 cards, it's like a quarter of your deck. And then 4 of the cards in there is like 20% of the deck could get you there. Right now, we've bumped that up to a quarter of the deck gets you there, and more than a quarter of the deck gets you here. Essentially, 30% of your deck is the fusion substitution, and 25% of the deck is the other monster card that you need. So just basing it off of just math, like the fact that the last ban list made Reinforcement of the Army go up to 2 makes this so much easier to play. But once you do have it played, you've got the monumental task of making sure that our fusion doesn't go away. So how do we win this game with the other 9 cards? Well, first spell that we're really using, 2 copies, Book of Moon. Again, this goes back to something I've been saying since the beginning of the game. It's great. We can put things down in defense. If we can't outmuscle something straight up, chances are we could do it when it's in defense. Any effect it would have while face up, we can negate. there's a lot of good reasons to use this. It could stall us for the one turn that we need to put our cards together. It is what it is. It's a good card, great card. One copy of Cyclone. Again, we got to hit that back row. We got to hit it hard. And how hard do we got to hit it? We have to hit it so hard. We got to hit 3 Night Beams on top of that. Again, we don't have any room for breakers or anything in this deck because, again, we're already using our 3 on the 3 of, 2 of the 2s. So, again, a lot of cards are already restricted from our use at this point. Again, this is supposed to be very aggressive. It's supposed to be very OTK. Basically, we want to win it in one turn. Next up, 2 copies of Shrink. Now, this is kind of fun because we can use the Shrink offensively. And again, remember, we have chosen the stronger of the 2 fusions. So that's not really the problem here. The problem is what happens if we hit Waking the Dragon. Okay, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is absolutely still a threat. Just because some people were priced out of being able to get it, or you got into the game later, and since he hasn't been released in any one of the box sets, it's still something that you may not see all the time. But then Big Koala, no, Master of Oz 4200, Cyber Dragon 4000 with piercing. These are still things that are going to be huge obstacles for you as a player. And again, would be very hard for Flame Wingman to come back from. And again, the difference between Flame Wingman and Flare Wingman is like 400 base points. So being able to shrink something in half is just perfect. It works. And then again, when I'm in a 19 card deck, I love to throw in a single copy of Lost Wind. And again, it's going to work similar to Shrink for special summon monsters while still taking away their effects. So Lost Wind, kind of a little improvement on it, kind of not an improvement because we could draw into Shrink, go into our whole combo, and go after the big card immediately. So there's a little bit to say about both sides. Now, real quick, let's say you wanted to play the Flame Wingman instead. What could you change? If you wanted to change the least amount of cards possible, change the hero Sparkman to Burstinatrix. Change one card, use those other ones. Get your fusion substitution on. Again, Burstinatrix 200 points stronger than Avion. Could allow you to go to the Flame Wingman instead. Doing that, you may even take out one each of these, or you might let's say you go 1 fusion substitution, 3 Burstinatrix, 3 Avion. You still have your reinforcements. You could throw in like a fusion weapon or something for Flame Wingman. Since his star level is 6 or less, you can go ahead and you can bump him by 1500 on both stats. Let's bring him up to 3600. He will outclass Flare Wingman at that point. But again, he's still very susceptible to your opponent's cards like Lost Wind or Shrink, which is why Night Beam is super duper important. So again, just for me, I prefer to go to the larger of the 2 monsters. And if you were doing a 3 ofs, well, you would just trade these 3 out. And if you were just disregarding the ban list entirely, you'd probably just change Night Beams to Cosmics. You change the Cosmic to a book. You'd probably go ahead and change these 3 into Walls of Disruption. And then you'd literally just play whatever you wanted up in the front row and go to either one of them. But just real quick, those are your options. Let me get you guys the official extra and side decks. So just real quick, screenshots or what have you, right? I'll be right back. All right. Gotta love the movie magic. Gotta love the edits, right? So what are we going to do as far as the extra deck? Well, again, we've only got 1 shot due to our skill card, and I'm not pocketing extra copies of Polymerization in the side. That's a whole different deck if we're going to go Tech Heroes, and I think we should. I think we should schedule Tech Heroes for sometime in the next 2 weeks, and we should revisit this whole idea. But for right now, I chose to play the Flare Wingman, and for a couple of reasons. And we'll do this one side by side. We'll go Flame Wingman, then Flare Wingman. So if you are playing the Flame Wingman, again, like all heroes, must be fusion summoned. Then when this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to the opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster in the graveyard. So sounds to me like if the opponent had an augmented attack, we can do extra damage. Whereas with the Shining Flare Wingman, the wording is slightly changed. We do gain this, gains 300 per elemental hero card in the graveyard. And again, this is generally going to be 1. This is going to be Sparkman the way we play. So count this card as 2,800 to start. If this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack in the graveyard. So again, modified stats don't count. So if you shrink a card, like say that Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon I was going on about earlier, you're going to deal 4,500 through effect damage. Clearly enough to call game. Not as much with the Flame Wingman, but then again, should still be pretty okay. Actually, usually with Flame Wingman, it's just whatever his value is at the time. Because if it was an attack mode, you take whatever the difference is, followed by what it was. So again, just is what it is. Shining Flare, my favorite when it comes to this. Super glad that they printed it. Very happy that I ended up pulling a single copy of the Secret Rare during that last GX box. So that's cool. That's our boss card. Now, of course, you know I never rock just a single card extra deck. So we got to have the backup squad. So you got to play the Blue Eyes Ultimate. I'm playing the Cyberblader, Psy-End, D-End, and Oja King. Okay, so TI's Restrict got dropped this time. Because again, moving forward, it just seems like he may or may not always come up. The rest of these, super playable. I'm always going to be playing Waking the Dragon unless it's actually inopportune for me. But as long as I have the room for Waking the Dragon, great, I'll do it. If not, I'm still going to carry a stack of 6. It doesn't matter what the 6 are. I'll put Mammoth the Goldfine and Alligator Sword and Thousand Dragon in my extra deck. I really don't care. The thing is, whatever you're not play, whatever you need to play, play. Whatever you can play, play. And if you can't play any of it, and there's no drawback to not having, or like, let me say it this way. If there's no drawback to having an extra deck, i.e. The way like the Monarch Field spell and stuff would interact, where they require you or want you to have no extra deck, then you might as well just slap a stack of 6 cards up there and let your opponent think that Waking the Dragon might be an opportunity that they might be going into. And, you know, just a little bit of mental warfare there will actually help them to maybe not pick apart your back row as fast until they realize it's just a bluff, at which point, I mean, it is what it is. Going to the side deck, I am playing my one of over here. I'm playing the Offerings to the Doomed again. And honestly, this is the same side deck as what I was playing for my Dark Paladin. And it's for all the same reasons. Lost Wind helps us when we're going into a single monster card. We want to make sure that we protect it. We don't want our opponent's effects to get it. We don't want the opponent to overpower it. We want to be able to call a card out of our opponent's hand. We want to be able to call the backup boys to the field. And sometimes you just need that like one-up spot destroy to just do the job. So again, this is it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you have, consider supporting the channel. It's as easy as a like, a comment, a subscription if we've earned it. And again, maybe you want to go a step further. A couple people have recently. The Buy Me a Coffee is down in the description, but it's never a necessity. It's just really cool when you guys help support us directly. So we just leave it there. Most important favor, if you don't do any of the other stuff, do this, okay? I want to see you guys again on Saturday. So I want you guys to go out. I want you to have a great day today. I want you to have a great day tomorrow. And come back and see us later, all right? All right. See you next time. Later.